Our first talk tonight is presented by Meteor core developers Sashko Stubailo and Slava Kim. Along with Avital Oliver, they're the team that's been building official Windows support for Meteor, which is coming very soon as part of Meteor 1.1. In fact, we're happy to announce that Meteor 1.1 release candidate 0 is available as of yesterday. The Windows team has been working very hard on this since November last year. And Sashko and Slava are here to tell you about their work to make Windows a first-class Meteor development platform. Please welcome Sashko and Slava.
Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm Sashko.
I'm Slava.
Yeah, and what we've been working on for the past 5 months is making the experience of developing Meteor apps on Windows just as good as it is on Linux and Mac. So after 1.0 came out in October 28th, I believe it was, we had meetups in over 100 countries around the world. And it turns out if you go to those countries, you'll not see as many people using Macs in coffee shops or in universities like you see here. Most people, in fact, over 90% of people in the world use Windows on their computers. And we want to be able to reach those people the same way that we reach everyone else and make it easy for them to build apps as well. And collaborate with their friends that are using Mac and Linux computers. So we started out with a really high standard for quality. So we didn't want Windows to be kind of the platform that is like always lagging behind Mac and Linux in terms of Meteor development. So we set out with the goal of making the initial experience just as good as in Mac and Linux. All of the release version numbers starting from 1.1. It will all be the same versions on all the platforms, and all of them will work the same way. And any new feature we add, hopefully we will be able to implement for all of the platforms. We want it to be easy to install on any platform, just as easy to install on Windows. In fact, actually kind of easier, as you'll see, than on Mac and Linux. And we wanted to make it so that everything just works, even more so than sometimes you run into problems actually running Node on Windows that we'll tell you about later. And we actually even worked hard to fix those problems for people who are using Meteor. So it's very important for us to give a shout out here to Tom and Stefan, the main maintainers of the community Windows port that you could use from win.meteor.com before. A lot of people are very happy using it, and we're glad to take it off their hands so that they no longer have to spend their valuable time working on this, and we can make it a part of core. So now Slava is going to give you a demo of what it's like to use Meteor on Windows.
So I'll give you a short demo how it works on Windows. First of all, I'll go to the short URL to download the latest Windows preview. And as of today, it's RC of version 1.1. So here you can find the link on GitHub, and you can download it. But I already have it, so I'll save you time and open it in the downloads folder. So I'll just run the installer. And as you can see, the installing process on Windows is very different from Mac and Linux. On Mac and Linux, you just need to paste a line of code in your terminal. On Windows, people are not used to these kind of things. And people expect something like this, a graphical installer. And that's exactly what we built. Also, while it's installing, let me show you a terminal emulator that I'm going to use. It's called Conimu. I think it's much better than CMD that is built in. It has a lot of cool features. And one of my favorites is opening several tabs and copy and paste that CMD is lacking. So we'll wait a little bit until the installation finishes. OK, I think it just installed Meteor again, so it's fine. But what I want to show you is that I can sign in with my Meteor developer account. And you can also sign up for a new one right here. So let me sign in with mine. And we are done. It will show you a screen with short instructions, how you can get started with Meteor. So now we'll have Meteor here. That's cool. And the version of it will be 1.1 or C0. So I'm going to create a test app. I hope you can see it well. Let me create the leaderboard app that probably a lot of you already seen before. And everything works exactly the same. I just type dir instead of ls. And I can run it. Great. Almost done. Oops.
Just unstar Meteor.
Yep.
Are we below?
And if I open localhost 3000, you can see it's the same app as you're used to. So now let me open the text editor. And I already have this file opened. So let's change the title to Windows Preview, and we'll save it. And as you would expect, Meteor will rebuild the whole thing in the background and refresh the page for you. So that's kind of cool. And let's open another tab and show that all the other favorite features of Meteor command line tool work really well.
Switch directories.
Oh, yeah. First of all, I would need to cd into leaderboard. And now I can run Meteor Shell. And as you would expect, Meteor Shell has the full access to the server-side environment, just like on Mac or Linux. Oops, .exit. And the last thing that we can show you is that you can deploy it. I'll deploy it to a website called Devshop Mouch. And it will upload the bundle to our free hosting. So since I already signed in with my Meteor developer account, it already knows who I am, so it will allow me just to deploy it. If you don't sign in on the installation, you would need to create a new account, and it will be free as you would expect. So while it's uploading, I can create a new GitHub repository and push it to my remote server. And then my friends can download it on Mac and Linux and also develop with me, because this version is available on all platforms. So now we kind of failed to clean up some temporary directories, but I believe it still succeeded to deploy. So let's show that. devshopmouch.meteor.com. And as you can see, the app is here and it's working. And we even have yay.
Awesome.
Good job.
Great.
And now Sashko will continue with the presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Slava. What a great demo. And so now that we've shown you a demo, I want to go over some of the interesting technical things that we had to do to make it work like that. So the first thing that actually really helped us is the design of the Meteor package system. So I don't know if you guys have used like NPM or something like that before. A lot of times you'll install a package, and then it just downloads the source code of that package and then starts compiling it on your computer. And this means that to use a lot of NPM packages, you have to have installed on your computer a compiler, maybe some additional libraries like OpenSSL, all of that fun stuff. But in the Meteor package system, when you download a package, it's already pre-built with all the binaries that you need for your system. And I think on Windows it's actually even more important, because I think on Windows people are probably even less likely to have some of the libraries that you need to compile things, because it takes longer to install them. It's not as easy to know which libraries you need, stuff like that. So that's the first major benefit, is to use Meteor on Windows. You don't need any compilers or anything like that. You just install Meteor and you're good to go. And just as on Mac and Linux, we also install Node for you, like secretly, so that you can run it without having to do anything else. And on the other side of the story, for Meteor package authors, they also don't need to have a Windows computer to publish something for Windows. Because we have available for package authors Meteor build machines with every kind of platform that you might need, they can just run a command to get a Windows virtual machine in the cloud they can use to build their package so that people can download it. So an interesting other thing we had to do is before this release, we had a slightly different package format that involved some file paths that were actually invalid on Windows. In particular, on Windows, you can't actually have colons in your file paths, which is a thing that we kind of didn't foresee until we started working on this project. So when we download packages built by old Meteor releases, we actually have to convert them in memory before we unpack the package into your hard drive. So this is just an example of one of the things we have to do to make it like a seamless experience. So the way that we implemented a lot of these things, a lot of the features of Meteor to work on Windows, is we implemented a conversion layer that wraps the entire Node file system API using our own special function calls. So they do things like mainly converting file paths to have the right slashes. And so this means that instead of rewriting all of Meteor to use the correct file system slashes, we just have to make sure that this one layer understands how to convert those things. And it basically makes everything a lot easier. And in the future, when people are developing new features for Meteor, they also don't have to worry about Windows file path problems. We can just fix all of those in this conversion layer. So there are a lot of other fun things that we had to do that actually are like you think that when you write your code in Node, it's like automatically going to be cross-platform, but it turned out not to be the case. So one thing was Windows doesn't have interprocess signals like Unix does. So on Linux, we used to send an interprocess signal to do client-only refresh, which is when you change the CSS in your app and your server doesn't restart. It just pushes that directly to the browser. But now we use Node's IPC pipes, which is a great feature that they have. We also had to replace socket files, which again don't exist on Windows, with network sockets to make Meteor Shell work. We had to remove symlinks from our internal structure of where we store packages, because on Windows you have to be an administrator to create a symlink, and we didn't want to make people have to be an administrator to run Meteor. My favorite one so far that I found out is actually there's a bug in Node, I guess, where on Windows if you console.log something and then you immediately call process.exit in your Node app, that log will actually disappear forever and never be seen by anybody. So we had to have a workaround that flushes all of your output to the screen before quitting. And that's just like included in every Meteor app now, so you can be sure that all of your consoles will get printed. And the last one was just a couple days ago, we fixed a problem where the main library that people use for handling tarballs in Node was broken on long file paths in Windows. So if you had a file path that was like over 260 characters, I guess, and you made a tarball using Node, that file would just not be there. So we fixed that, and we have a pull request that we submitted to Fstream. So hopefully they can fix that as well. So now that we've done all this fun stuff, there's a lot of cool places we can go. So as you may have noticed, we didn't demo creating mobile apps on Windows because that feature currently isn't supported. It's the only thing that we haven't gotten a chance to build because we figured it would be good to get it out fast before going into the whole thing of making PhoneGap and Cordova work properly on Windows. But once we get to that, we can even target maybe a new platform of Windows Phone, which was impossible before because you can only build those apps on Windows. And another thing that I think will be really cool is, like we talked before, Windows users expect a little bit of a different user experience than Mac and Linux users, where they're happy typing things into the command line all the time. I think on Windows, people often expect having an IDE or a graphical interface. And just recently, Visual Studio announced their first legitimate version of Node.js support, which has a lot of very fancy features. And so it would be great to integrate Meteor with something like that. So to close, Meteor on Windows is available now. You should try it today. A lot of people are already using it and submitting great feedback for us to improve. So if you go to this URL, you can download the installer that we just showed you and play around with things and let us know if it works for you. And we hope it will. Thank you.
Right.
Any questions?
In the back.
I saw a demo of somebody using Meteor to target desktop applications on the Mac, like to build for like a stereotypical menu bar desktop Mac app. Do you think Meteor on Windows could also mean Meteor for Windows, like desktop apps?
I can
Go for
take
it.
it. So probably what you have seen was an integration
Repeat
with...
the question.
Oh, OK. The question was, I think the question was, right now, somebody showed a demo where they were building a native Mac app with Meteor. Is it possible to build native Windows apps with Meteor now as we support Windows? And I think what you've seen was an integration either with MacGap or one of the native shells with Chromium and Node. Namely, Node WebKit is one, and Atom Shell is another one. And MacGap doesn't really work that well outside of Mac because it targets Coca. That is an OS X specific framework. And I think Atom Shell and Node WebKit actually do work well on Windows because they actually bundle the whole Chromium, which already has a lot of cross-platform libraries for UIs, for creating windows and manipulating them. So I think it's definitely possible. It's definitely not in the scope of this project, but as you said, it was probably a community project, and I'm pretty sure they can integrate with that if they want to.
More questions?
All right. Thank you very much.